mosquito that's gonna fly into my eyes. Every day is upside down day in Soundschi land. Hi and welcome to the Soundschi Land show where everybody's upside down. And if you've been following me for the last few months, you probably know that most of the information I put out there is mainly from the perspective of circus. And since I just had an amazing time at the retreat with Miguel Santana and I got to meet two amazing yoga teachers, Rama and Shakti, who are also known for their beautiful backbends, we're gonna try and shed some light from the side of yoga onto handstands. But I have a burning question that I need to ask you right away, and that's how did you get so bendy and flexible?
You're more so.
I'm more so?
Yeah.
Well, for me, I spent a lot of time living in an ashram, which is a traditional community where everyone comes together for the purpose of some type of improvement, be it spiritual, physical, or otherwise. And my time there, it allowed me to cut through a lot of kind of fluffy aspects of daily life. So it's basically nothing to do apart from some form of yogic practice, which is stretching, all these kinds of things. So living in a dedicated atmosphere for about 2 years, that for me definitely contributed. Maybe genetics a little bit as well, but that was the main one, I think, for my personal practice.
Do you think that your mental development also has something to do with that, or only like the physical?
No, definitely. For me, they're one and the same. Mind and body, they're interconnected in a very tremendous way. So yeah, my time before the ashram, for example, physically, mentally, emotionally, I was in a far different place, in a far lesser place, you can say, than what I emerged as at the end of that experience.
Can you give us some more concrete information about what it is that changed?
Yeah, concrete, that'll be a little bit difficult. It's not necessarily something that you can prove per se, but as far as the mental improvements go, before coming to this practice, I was a very, very angry individual, you can say, and quite a bit of an asshole, actually.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, definitely. After hanging out, most people would never say that, but go say what's up to my mom and she'll let you know that I was quite a different boy before coming to
Interesting.
yoga. So for me, it's just essentially rendered me a little bit inert, we'll use that word, where anything can be going on outside and it doesn't matter so much. I'll enjoy it the exact same, whether it's a positive or negative experience. That's the idea that happens with yoga mentally. And physically, when you are kind of a little bit inert in that sense, not many things can touch you, tremendous things start to happen in the physical body as well. Little mental relaxation makes a lot.
What about you, Shakti?
Yeah, my mobility doesn't come from mental relaxation. I'll tell you that. But I just developed a daily practice. So I would just do a yoga practice and always do my best every time I did it. And I was so flexible, but then I started training with the Portal community, and I started using weights to stretch, and I learned that it's not just about like relaxing all the time and accepting your body for what it has. It was more about if you have a goal, then you can reach it if you're working in the right way. So for me, it was adding weights to different stretches that I was already doing, basically, and working in a much more active way rather than just kind of gently easing into different stretches. And I saw tremendous progress through that.
When did you guys get into handstands? And how? Like, how did that go?
For me, to be honest, I got into handstand purely because I had just experienced a very profound experience through yogic practice, some injury that I had that I wasn't supposed to be able to recover from, various yogic techniques, it allowed me to recover fully in a very short amount of time. And so naturally I wanted to spread these kinds of practices far and wide, and recognize that the modern mind is a little bit restless, a little bit agitated, and it likes these fanciful things.
Yeah.
So for me, if I really wanted to spread this message that had impacted my life in a very positive way, I would need to almost exploit the weaknesses, the natural weaknesses of the human mind, in the sense that people want to come to a yoga practice because of the very cool physical things that the body might be able to do. And ideally, I'm able to slip in some aspects of the practice that I see are more valuable. I mean, the physical, for me, it's been something that I pursued passionately. And then when I started to have some achievements, for me, I started to realize that actually there's something else there. I'm getting better physically, but I'm not getting better in terms of just general happiness. So, for me, it was purely a tool to bring people to what I would consider a more deeper level of human experience.
Okay, so were the handstands just like another tool
Absolutely.
that you were just exploring?
Yeah. The only reason I got into handstand work was because people love seeing handstands on Instagram,
Gotcha.
and for me, that's been a big way to promote and market international programs and reach many, many people. To be honest, I don't. In my own practice, I don't care so much about the handstand. It's definitely a very beautiful thing to work towards, but I've always used it as a bit of a tool for getting people's foot in the door.
Food for thought. How did you get into handstands?
Yeah, my reasons are more selfish, I think so.
Yeah.
I didn't really enjoy yoga at first. Didn't really have anything else going on. I didn't like stretching. I wasn't super flexible at the beginning, and I hadn't really been doing anything as far as physical activity when I went away to college in Colorado. So I just wanted to do something that would be healthy for myself. And it was like hot, and it was exhausting, and like I just didn't like to be challenged in that way. But it wasn't until I saw someone doing a handstand that I was like, I want to start doing that. So then I started every day just working on handstands, probably like 4 years ago. And I just started progressing really quickly, and then I really liked taking yoga classes because I could do handstands almost the whole time. So I just really kept pursuing it because they just made me super happy. It was something that like I focused on, and I didn't have to think about anything else. It was a much more meditative thing for me to experience than anything else I had ever done. So it was purely for myself. And then when I started teaching, I mean,
Exactly.
people love to learn these things, and there's not so many teachers around that can actually do it and speak to the process and what they know and experience themselves.
Especially in the yoga industry. Most yogis don't know a damn thing about handstand or human body, so it's helpful to have a couple people like us thrown into that niche.
Speaking of that, what kind of role does do handstands play in yoga? Like you've seen both. You've seen
Of course.
the approach of Miguel, which is very, I'd say, harsh for if you compare it to yoga. And I don't know nothing about yoga, so.
Yeah, I mean, like Miguel, he's seeking and demanding physical, just perfection. That's
Yeah.
what he's looking for. Whereas within a traditional yoga community, because I mean, when we say a yoga community nowadays, it's something very different than what it used to be and traditionally was. Now it's just physicality as well. But traditionally, people who practice yoga, if you look at just old pictures of all these yogic masters, they do handstands and stuff like that, but their alignment is pure shit, basically.
Yeah.
And it's always strange to see. If they're such great beings, why couldn't they figure out how to properly align the body? And it's just because in yoga, the focus is not supposed to be physical. So although handstands are some things that we do in yoga, present day, they're, again, in many ways, just a stepping stone with regards to deeper yogic study.
So what do the handstands do for your development? I still can't like.
The idea is that if you're working to improve the physical system, there's something that's going to come from that. When you're working towards a handstand and you're actually working towards that goal, there's many little lessons that you'll get along the way. And if you're really aware and you're really present with that, those lessons you can apply to many different aspects of your life, not just handstanding. So learning anything physical, it can be a tool for having some experience on a deeper level as well.
insights.
Yeah. I mean, but you can stop anywhere. If you just want to do yoga, do handstands purely because you like to move the physical body, then like you'll get that. And that's the benefit then. But if you start doing it and you start to notice some subtle changes, even a lot of handstanders, when they start to access like one arms, you'll see that naturally they become a little bit meditative actually. And I know I've mentioned this before to you specifically. I see it in Miguel. Even though he doesn't say he has any kind of meditation practice, anybody who's really good with handstanding, they actually do have quite a meditation practice. Mind needs to focus with those things.
Yeah. That's also what he said about being hard on the outside, but calm or
Relaxed on the inside.
relaxed
soft
on the inside. Yeah, that's very interesting. Do you perceive your own practice as a meditative one?
Definitely. Even if I'm in a group setting, it's always like a very specific personal experience that I'm having, and it's really focused, and I love that. It's not a very frequent thing that happens throughout the day, so that's definitely what I get out of my handstand practice. I wouldn't do yoga if not for handstands, so yeah,
Right.
it's a very special thing.
So are you more handstand oriented, or is your practice more handstand oriented?
It always was until I've been traveling and I don't have the community that I used to have, and like the teachers and the classes that I used to love taking are not available at all. So it's changed a little bit because I have a hard time just doing my own personal practice. I never really liked doing that. I liked going out and like making it an event, like a big event part of my day. But now it's like, if my practice has to be super crazy all the time, then I'm less likely to do it all the time because I feel like it's just too much. So it's a little bit more gentle now, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to be taking a nice rest, I think, after this program with Miguel.
Oh yeah, this was very intense.
Yeah,
But I prefer
normally-
it to be this way. I prefer it like this. I don't like to just like do yoga practice.
She's saying that looking at me because I usually when we travel, my own personal practice, although like I post a lot of things that seem pretty advanced on Instagram and other social medias, my own personal practice is not very physical at all. So
Oh, really?
yeah, like not at all. The
So
most
what do you do?
advanced thing that I do is just a classical headstand in the morning.
Oh, that's
Other than,
interesting.
yeah, I do 3 postures, 3 basic asanas, and then majority of my own practice is seated.
So you actually don't really practice handstands?
No.
Like I do, for example.
No, not in the same way.
Yeah.
I used to practice it in the same way that you do, and I used to practice it daily, twice daily, really working towards one-arm stuff, and I didn't really find so much progress, to be honest. I've been handstanding now for like 3 years, essentially, and for me, the change started to happen actually when I practiced physical things less and focused more on the mental aspect, on the deeper aspects of myself. When I was able to fine-tune those inner energies, everything above, mental, physical, it started to kind of change in a very positive way. So it's a strange subject, but yeah, I don't
I
do
find
many
it
physical things.
very interesting, and I want to understand what you say. So when you say mental practice, do you mean meditation in a traditional sense?
Yeah, meditation in a traditional sense, but also meditative practices. Things where you develop concentration and contemplation. It's not all just sitting there in this meditative state. There's some activity also.
Would you then observe your breath, or do you have a mantra? Or?
These are some things. In the morning, basically, there's a combination of many different practices that I'll be doing. Some things like kriyas, yogic cleansing exercises, this nauli, abdominal churning, different types of pranayamas as well, just to essentially elicit the state of mind that I want to carry out the rest of my day with. Yeah, a large portion of it is finding a way to see a little bit separation, like who you are and who your body is. Because for me, I spent the first 19 years of my life just totally identified with this physical body. I came from more functional movement, functional anatomy. And if you're trying to really know something and study it, you can't like hold it right there. If I wanted to know my phone, I just see black. So in order to actually observe and know something, you need to have a little space between it. So a lot of these morning practices are purely designed to create a little bit of separation between what's my body, what's my mind, and what is actually me. And when you see that separation, the body and mind start to operate in a very tremendous way, when you can step back a little bit.
think I might have to take some classes with you guys because this is getting really interesting. Do you also meditate?
Sometimes, not as often as he does.
I feel like I have more in common with you.
Probably.
You seem a little more
Physical. Yeah. Well, I went to college to study yoga at a university in Colorado, and there was I had to take meditation classes and pretty much every aspect of yoga philosophy and so much study of the other pieces of yoga that are not just physical. But all I wanted to do was just learn handstands and stuff like that. I'd be out in the hallway trying to do handstands while everybody else is doing mantra and trying to meditate. So I feel like I missed out on that opportunity to learn some things. But yeah, I at that time I would get way more out of working on handstands than I would out of just being restless, trying to sit and meditate, looking at everyone, I wasn't getting much out of that because I wasn't ready to do that. So I'm definitely a lot more comfortable sitting still and
had to
practicing
get
meditation.
the handstands out of your system.
Yeah, and I definitely do a lot less handstanding than I used to. But yeah, it'd be nice to have a good balance of both of them because I still want my practice to be physical. I'm not just gonna sit and meditate and be able to do a one-arm handstand. So we'll see.
I think that will probably work more physically after this retreat. It's inspired me personally a little bit to more passionately pursue one-arm work.
That was gonna be my next question because this was a kick in the ass, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it is quite a big leap in effort. Two-handed handstand, it's pretty solid. Entries and everything, they're very consistent.
Yeah.
But when you want to take the jump to actually really getting into one-arm work, it's a totally different level of effort. And I mean, there are so many other things that I fill my day with. Our teaching schedule fills up almost a year in advance now. So we have very little time, and if I was going to actually give myself to this one-arm practice, it would be a significant amount of effort. So I just wanted to make sure that if I go for it, it's going to happen.
And you guys have a teacher training coming up, is that right?
Yeah, we have a few coming up for 2019.
Can you tell us some about your teaching, your schedule, and what exactly you teach, so if people are interested, they can maybe get motivated to join you?
So it's a Hatha Vinyasa yoga teacher training, and essentially both Shak and I, we've gone to both as teachers and as students, a number of different types of trainings, from just basic strength and conditioning to sports nutrition to of course different types of yogic study, also handstand retreat, and all of the programs that we've been a part of in some way, there are always pros and cons. And ideally what we've done is we've just taken all of the wonderful bits, all of the pros, the pieces of information that we see as being most valuable, and we've compiled them into a 25-day program that is designed essentially, it's a yoga teacher training, so there's going to be some aspect of a yoga teacher in there, but more so it's about creating better people in every respect of that word. So the idea is we have morning asana practices, meditation before, we have 2 lectures each day on different subjects, from traditional yoga philosophy to quantum theory to the science of sound, many different subjects that they're what I like to call distilled subjects, where if you look at even just most modern education systems, there's so much information in there that is totally useless, just filling the mind with all of this garbage.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what all of the yoga teacher trainings that we've been part of have been like. There's just so much information that nobody needs to use unless they start to specialize. So we've kind of distilled it and created information-based yoga teacher training, lots of practicality as well, where people are given exactly what they need to take the next steps, nothing more.
Yeah, it'll be required that they're retaining the information that we're giving them. So we're choosing to give them very specific information, and they need to prove to us that they have learned that, and then they can share that with their students if they're going to graduate and move through our program.
Right.
Have a chance to maybe take the 300 hour that would come after the 200 hour. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Those sound really interesting. I'm actually thinking about taking some.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, they're coming up. The first one is in Barcelona from March 4th till 28th.
Alright.
And then the second one we have in Bali, kind of near Ubud. It's more on the coast, so you get to see a little bit of the ocean as well. And that's running August 9th till September 2nd. Yeah, both are already starting to fill up. We just really went
How many
live with the
people do you
programs.
take?
It's going to be changing a little bit for both, but we'll likely aim to keep it around 20 people. We don't want it to be so much more than that, so that we can kind of retain some intimacy with
Yeah.
someone at one time.
Wow. Sounds really interesting, and I want to thank you so much for doing this with me.
Of course.
And yeah, definitely let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
And I'll put all the relevant links down below to your website, and also schedule and everything. And for you, just remember that the world is your just remember that the world is your playground, so just go ahead and do whatever you love. And I'll see you next Monday on the Soundschi Show. I always say that in the end. Playground.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.